Greetings, loves. It is I, Tactical Girlfriend. So good to see you again. Today I'm going to be completing my two-part series in building an AR pistol. Specifically today I'm going to be assembling my AR upper and showing you the ropes with how I'm doing that. So without further ado, let's get building. One quick little note here, this is technically a complete upper from BCM. If you are looking for instructions on assembling an upper with a barrel installed and handguards and what have you, I do recommend going to PvP Tactical and checking out their written guide, which is a generally really good guide for both their upper and lower builds. Alright, I got my workspace set up here, got my vise, got my Magpul bev block here, which is going to come in really handy when assembling the upper. And there's a few parts that we're going to want, as well as a few tools. First of all, let's talk about the tools. First thing I'm going to want to use is a flathead screwdriver, a fistful of Allen wrenches, got a couple of my AK-74 punches. These will come in handy when trying to swap out the forward assist, a hammer, some blue Loctite. You also probably want some cotton swabs for applying the Loctite, as well as the rock set for the muzzle device, and a wrench. Okay, as for the upper, I'm going to be using a BCM MK2 11.5-inch upper. This uses the MCMR rail, which is M-LOK, and it features on the MK2 an integrated deflector as well as forward assist. These kind of make for a more compact, more robust package, as well as some reinforcement on this side of the receiver here. I don't know if that's really going to be important to me at all, but I decided to kind of try this thing out since it's new. And yeah, see how this thing goes. Next up, I'll be using the BCM bolt carrier group. The Radian Raptor SD is going to be the charging handle I'm going to be using for this build. This specifically is designed for suppressor use. It has these ports right here on the sides to help deflect some of the backflow of gases, especially when using a suppressor, so it doesn't all go right into your face right away. Just kind of planning ahead as I start getting into suppressors down the line. The muzzle device is going to be the Surefire Warcomp. This is already on my 14.5-inch build, which I really like. Good combination of flash hiding as well as compensation against muzzle rise. I'm going to be tossing in a pink forward assist. I don't think I ever will need to use a forward assist, but hey, it's aesthetic, so whatever. Going to include some backup iron sights. These are the Flip-Up MBUS Pro from Magpul. These are great. I already have them on my other builds and they are solid. The main optic I'm going to be using is an Eotech 512 holographic sight. Going to be adding a BCM CAG or kinesthetic angle grip to help improve indexing and retention for my support hand. Weapon light is going to be a Streamlight Protac HLX with an Arisaka mount and the pressure pad. I will also be installing this oddly oily BCM QD mount. And last but not least, I'm going to be adding these BCM rail panels, which will help improve grip. Alright, so I'm going to start by mounting the upper on the bev block here. Like you probably saw in my last video, the axis of this vise is not in an ideal spot, so I do kind of have to either mount this offset or a bit high, but whatever. I'm just going to make it work, and yeah, that's good enough. Gonna slide this sucker on here, like that. And then I'm going to take the bolt carrier without the bolts installed and slide this through here to help lock the bev block in place. Nice and tight. Okay, so I'm going to start by doing the most annoying part first, and that is getting the forward assist out of here. So I'm going to use my AK-74 punch, driving it through the pin that holds this in place from the top, as such. Okay, great. Got the pin out. Now I'm going to very carefully remove the punch there. And there we go. Got the old forward assist out. Okay, now I'm going to take my new forward assist. I'm going to note the flat end here, and I'm going to point that towards the receiver as such. I'm going to also put this spring back on it, insert like so, rotate if necessary, check down inside there and make sure it's lined up just right so you got enough clearance for the pin. Okay, I've got everything lined here properly. I've got the roll pin here lined in and started. I'm gonna try to hold everything in place. This is a little bit janky, but I'm gonna put my punch right on top of that pin and hammer it down. Yeah, this part's really annoying, but we're gonna do this. Alright, with some cussing and finagling, I finally got this damn thing in. That was really annoying, but it's good to get that out of the way first before we start doing some of the more delicate operations on here. Speaking of which, I'm gonna next want to change the muzzle device here. So we're gonna go ahead, take a look at this. I'm gonna actually flip this around so you can see better. Okay, I got this mounted on the vise. I'm gonna grab my wrench. There's a couple of flat ends on the birdcage flash hider here that I'm going to use to grab hold of. And then I'm just going to loosen this guy up. With a little leverage, that comes off nicely. Great. Be sure to take the little spacer here off of the barrel as well. Next, I'm going to actually want to clean off some of the surfaces that I'm going to be mounting this to. Specifically because we're going to be using rock set. I want that to be cleanly mated with the surfaces in use. So I'm taking some alcohol here and a paper towel. Just going to give this a good wipe down. Also going to take my Warcomp and do kind of the same thing here. My pinky. You can also use one of those Q-tips there if you need to. This should do the trick though. Just make sure it's nice and clean inside. Great. Now for the Surefire Warcomp, it is very important that we get this placed properly and rotate it on at the right angle so that it's timed properly, depending on what kind of shooter you are. You can have this set for righties, lefties, or a neutral setting. I'm gonna set it for righty because that's what I am. Anyway, I'm gonna mount this here. Got that ring here, and we've got a handful of shims to use. I'm just gonna find that sweet spot. This will take some trial and error, but let's just see where this ends up. Okay, so basically what you're trying to do is get the locking lug here at the 530 position for a right-handed shooter if it's hand tight, and then it ultimately ends up at 6 when you torque it down. I'm gonna add one of the thinner shims here. Let's see. Okay, that's perfect. So we got that in place now. All we need to do now is, now that it's dry positioned, we're going to apply some rock set. And in order to do that, I include it, which is really nice. Okay, so next we're going to actually apply the rock set. Just need maybe a drop or two on here. And spread it around with a Q-tip. You don't need too much of this stuff, but just enough to get it into the threads of the barrel. And then we're going to do exactly the same thing with the Warcomp itself. Apply it to the Q-tip. And just spread around on the threads, making sure that you don't get all the way at the end there. You don't want to get the crown. just the interior here. Okay, that should be good. Now we can begin tightening this by hand first. Alright, I've got my attachment here for the torque wrench that came with the Surefire Warcomp, and my torque wrench, which I have set at 25 foot-pounds. You're supposed to go at least 20, no more than 30. So that's the sweet spot. We're gonna slide this puppy on here, like that. And you actually want to get this at a roughly 90-degree angle with the attachment here. There we go. And tighten it up. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Perfect. All right. Check the alignments. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, the Surefire Warcomp has been attached properly and torqued. Next up, I'm going to want to install my flip-up iron sights. For this, I am going to apply a little bit of blue Loctite on the threads before I mount these. Grab a clean swab. That's a bit much. I'm just going to spread it around a bit. Alright. Okay, now that I got the Loctite on here, I'm going to go ahead and mount this basically as far forward as I can while making sure it's still flush here. Hand tighten first. Then I'm going to grab my flathead screwdriver and finish the job here. Basically just needs to be hand tight, don't need to torque it too hard. Yeah, that's good. Okay, I'm gonna also apply a little bit of blue Loctite to the rear iron sight here. And I just made a mess, that's okay, no big deal. That would be just our little secret. I'm going to mount this as far back as I possibly can, like that. Screwdriver. Again, just trying to get it hand tight here. That's good enough. Okay, great. Okay, I'm gonna mount the Optic now. One thing that you need to note here is that on this upper, there are two different sections of rail. One is attached to the handguard. The other is actually part of the receiver. You only want to be in contact with the rails on the receiver, otherwise your zero may shift due to the fact that these two sections actually do move independently of each other when under recoil. So to maintain the best zero, make sure that your rails are not going past this line on the receiver rails. So just make sure that this doesn't pass that line. I'm gonna go ahead and put this on here. Now, another thing I neglected to mention when I was mounting the iron sights here and here, you wanna make sure that you are applying forward pressure towards the muzzle end of the rifle, or in this case, pistol. Thanks, ATF. Make sure that you are applying forward pressure on the Optic when you are mounting it, or iron sights, because recoil can actually jostle things that are not tightly pressed against the forward section of the rail due to tolerance differences and whatnot. So just want to make sure that I'm applying sufficient pressure forward on this Optic here. I'm kind of pulling and pushing. Okay, that's about as hand tight as I think I want it. Yeah, That's good. Now doing the same thing here with the screwdriver. Flathead, pushing forward while tightening this thing down. Okay. Again, hand tight. Easy peasy. Now we got flip up iron sights in case this thing goes down, and got this nice Eotech to boot, so yay. Okay, next I'm going to install my QD mounts, which will go on the 9 o'clock position right here for my sling. And I'm actually going to put a little bit of Loctite on this one as well. That is a lot. Don't need that much, but you can spread it around if you need to. No big deal. Okay, so the trick I found to mounting M-LOK properly is that you do get these kind of snug to start with, so that they're at least near being fully tightened when you insert them in to the rail panel. Usually just a bit past the flush point. Now you're going to set these nuts to be completely horizontal in orientation. Then I'm going to slide them in. Then I'm going to take my Allen key, begin turning, and I'm going to orient both so that they're vertical. And I'm going to kind of pull these out a bit because they're just still a little bit too loose. I did not stage these well enough, and that's okay. If I just apply outward pressure on whatever I'm mounting, these usually will snap in place. Okay, great. So yeah, you just want to make sure that both of the nuts end up vertically oriented when you start tightening this down completely. Again, just hand tight with an Allen key should be more than sufficient. Okay, next up I'm going to install the BCM CAG. I'm actually not going to Loctite this down just yet because I'm probably going to move this around as I experiment with my hand positioning with this new pistol. So I'm going to start by kind of figuring out where I roughly am going to have my hands. I feel like this might be a good spot right here. So again, orient those nuts so that they are in line with your rails, and then sort of finagle them in. Might need to wiggle around a little bit here. There we go. And yeah, just check the feel. That feels pretty good to me, actually. Yeah, I'm gonna start there. And again, by turning the hex key here. Using my weapon light here to make sure that the nuts are actually perpendicular to the rail now, and they are. So that's looking good. Oh my god. Okay, so I'm just going to tighten these down just a tad bit more for now. Again, this is temporary. I'm going to have to take all of this back out to apply Loctite later. That's alright. Okay, next up I'm going to install my weapon light using the Arisaka mount here. First off, I'm going to add these screws in. Apply, again, a little bit of blue Loctite to the threads. And okay, great. So now I'm going to attach this to the light itself very carefully here. And of course I just lost the screw. Okay, and tighten that mount there. That's good. Okay, next I'm going to want to determine exactly where I want this positioned. I don't want it this far forward because it's going to be getting blast from the ports on the Surefire Warcomp, so probably roughly in this space here. Yeah, that looks pretty good to me. Cool. Once again, I'm going to apply a little bit of blue Loctite to the threads here. Put the nut back on like that. Do exactly the same for the other one here. Okay, got blue Loctite on the second nut here for the M-LOK mounts. Tighten it down a bit. That's probably pretty good. Alright, I'm gonna drop these two mounting points into that section of the rail. Whoop. Wrong angle. I'm doing this at the 130 position here. Perfect. Okay. Tighten this down. Okay, that should do it. Okay, next I'm going to mount the pressure switch for the weapon light. There are two inserts included for it. I'm going to mount the forwardmost one first, keeping those angles for the retainer end of it oriented towards the front for this part. And pop that in like that. Okay, now I'm going to insert the pad here and just see exactly where I need to mount the other one. Right there. Great. Okay, I got the mounting points in. Next, I'm going to screw this onto the lights. Nice and tight there. And make sure it's not twisted there. Then I'm going to insert the pressure pad to the attachment points here. Oh my God. Okay, I got the pressure pad properly placed in the brackets here. Dip, dip. And yeah, seems to be working good. I'm gonna probably also do a little cable management and secure things down with some zip ties, but first I wanna make sure that I'm happy with this placement, so I'm gonna play around with this a little bit before I do that. But just keep in mind that in the future, this will be properly fastened down with some zip ties. Okay, now I'm gonna start installing the rail panels here for some added grip. These pop right into the M-LOK mounting points, like that. Easy peasy, just making sure everything looks flush here. There we go. Great. Awesome. Feels a lot better now. Okay, I'm ready to start getting the bolt carrier group assembled and installed in the upper. However, before I do that, I did want to point something out interesting on the extractor here. On the Extractor Spring, you'll notice this little rubber O-ring. That is actually from the factory, from BCM for this 11.5-inch build. I believe on all of their builds that are sub 14.5-inch barrels do come with these little O-rings. They are supposed to help smooth out certain extraction issues, especially on shorter builds. I don't think they're generally necessary on most ARs, especially these days. However, I just thought this was something a little bit interesting that you may want to consider adding to your extractor if you were building an upper that is sub 14.5 inches. Okay, I'm going to insert the bolt into the bolt carrier group. Gonna set up my cam pin here. Get it lined up just right. There we go. Rotate that cam pin and extend all the way out. Then I'm going to install the firing pin. And then add this little pin for the firing pin. Great. Now I can grab my upper. Get the charging handle inserted in and up. Take the bolt carrier group, line it up, charge the whole thing in. All right. Well, there we have it. That is a complete upper. Now with the upper and lower together, this completes my AR pistol build. Let's do a quick functions check. Great. Works like a charm.
2 hours later.
I hope this is some good food for thought for folks who are interested in this subject. I hope it also demystified the process a bit. It's not nearly as intimidating as it probably seems. So for folks who are interested in trying this out, I highly encourage you to. I think if you're getting an AR pattern rifle or pistol, this is absolutely the way to go. And it's nice to have a little fun project where you know exactly what's going into your weapon. Well, whether you do end up building your own AR or not, I really hope that this video was useful to you in some way or another. If you enjoyed it, go and like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell too. I'd love to hear more about your AR builds in the comments below. I also want to offer up my thanks for everybody who's been supporting me on Patreon. I really appreciate you. If you want to help contribute to this project, go to patreon.com/tacticalgf. See at the end of the video for the names of my biggest contributors. Pew pew. Well, that's a wrap. I really appreciate you tuning in. Please be good to each other out there. And as always, please take care. Bye!